Whatever. But I like them. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, we got 4 minutes.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say, normally the clerk would have.
Okay, we got 3 minutes.
Okay.
Hello, Madam Supervisor.
Let's get down to business. And get
2 minutes.
done. 2 minutes.
What's in the book?
Huh?
What's in the book?
These two resolutions that are.
I know what you got highlighted.
Everything I need. Just trying to do my best.
Yeah, but I just.
Oh, I mean, sorry. Mary? Yeah, so just wanted to know. Yeah, sorry.
Got 1 minute. I have 6:59 yet.
Are we expecting Kim today?
It is now to call the meeting to order.
All right, I will call the meeting to order. Thank you, Clerk. And we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'd like to join us, please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, And we'll move to a roll call.
Dabish Yakine,
Here.
Devereaux,
Here.
Green,
Present.
Lewis, McKinney, Robinson, present, Ken Schwartz. Okay,
And shall we have someone to move to approve the agenda?
I second it.
Right.
Well, I
Oh, that's
was curious about whether we can change the order of something on the agenda.
Clerk, is it optional to move items out of order on the agenda?
Yes.
Okay.
So we have a resolution 2024-76 under unfinished business, and it seems like resolution 2025-01, the hiring moratorium under new business. It seems like our decision on the hiring moratorium may impact how we proceed with resolution 2024-76. So I'm curious if we could move the hiring moratorium up.
I support that.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you.
We're swapping 10A with 11A. Order. Okay, thank you.
Which in the order?
With 10A and 11A. Any more items on the agenda? All right, moving to, anyone to move the agenda as discussed? Finalized? Okay, great. And now we will open to citizen participation. Please keep remarks to 3 minutes and state your name. And please, for this section of participation, only speak to items that are on the agenda. If it is not on the agenda, please wait until pleas and petitions. And so, yeah, let's please start with citizen participation if anyone's interested in speaking.
Brenda Baker, Ashton Court. I'm here to speak on the Committee to Promote Superior Township. That's a communication in item C1 on your agenda. It's our infographic, quick and fast communication, what we've been up to in the last month. Looks like this. There are copies for the audience as well. And I just wanted to point out the first item, the social media update. This is a thing we do quarterly. We've been doing it quarterly for roughly 2 years, I guess. And because we have new people, especially, you may not be aware that this is taking place. It kind of takes place behind the scenes. We kind of map out the primary like bullet points that we're going to post on different days, different weeks, different, for the quarter on the township social media. And we work with township officials on filling that in, for example, holidays when the office is closed, things like that, and other information. And I will be in the audience if you get to that item or any other time in the meeting and you have questions or comments regarding Committee to Promote Superior Township. We are represented here.
Thank you.
Good evening, Tom Brennan. I live on Sheffield Drive. Just wanted to make mention and voice this, that I am disappointed to hear that Irma Golden won't be reappointed to the Board of Review. I think she's been a very good and faithful servant to our community. And I just want to thank you for the opportunity, for allowing me the opportunity to voice my concerns.
Thank you, Mr. Brennan.
Happy New Year. I'm Mrs. Mohammed, and I've been a resident of Superior Township for over 35 years. In reviewing the board packet, I would like further explanation on the appointments to the Board of Review, specifically the process. Was the entire board involved? What was the criteria? Who made the final decision? why now, those sorts of things. The correspondence from Mr. David Phillips, former township trustee and clerk, included in the packet, once again highlighted what has been said by the auditors on numerous occasions. The township has severe material weaknesses in internal controls. The township finances are not being managed and reported properly, and the board is not reading the financials, or perhaps you don't understand what's in the financial packets. The current deficit is but the tip of the iceberg that each of you is steering this township into. What is the plan? Did you understand the financial magnitude of the discrepancies he brought to your attention? What is your response to his analysis? Where's the controller? He should be giving you a response to the analysis. Along the financial line, I noticed in the controller's report that contained no financials. He told this board when he would be in town, April 14th through the 17th. So I want to know, are we, the residents, paying his travel and lodging expenses? Since you, the board, have seen no reason to have a controller who is local. Also, why is he not required to attend the board meetings, especially since no one here seems to be well-versed in finances? Speaking of finance, there's a check for $2 in the outstanding check log. What is that check for? $2. Finally, I would suggest that whoever's transcribing the minutes be very mindful of the verbs used when reporting what is said in the public comments. While other residents questioned, urged, and asked, I criticized and demanded. The reporting seems a bit slanted, and my name is not spelled correctly as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, members of the Superior Township Board of Trustees.
Good evening.
First, I want to say congratulations to all of you, and I sincerely appreciate your willingness to serve the township in this capacity. It's an honor to stand before you tonight. I've had the privilege of working for Superior Township since 2018. Most of my time here has been spent in the utility department, where I've grown personally and professionally. When I joined this department, I was a man in my mid-20s, searching for stability so I could build a future. Just 3 weeks after joining the township, I proposed to my then girlfriend, now my wife. My very first day, I was given valuable advice by my supervisor, always to learn as much as I can. I took that advice to heart. I started by scanning as-built, and I learned. I served residents, and I learned. I answered phone calls, and I learned. I even learned the billing process before the township gave me the role, because I was committed to learning as much as I could. As my career progressed, so did my professional life. My wife and I tried to settle down and raise our family in this community. And by the grace of God, the treasurer at the time was selling her home, and we were blessed with the opportunity to purchase it. Today, my wife, children, and I proudly call Superior Township home. In April of 2023, I made the tough decision to transfer to the clerk's office. I saw it as an opportunity to continue to learn and grow. Although my time there did not go as anticipated, I gained valuable insight into the township's operations and built relationships with its leaders. Even under somewhat challenging circumstances, I remained committed to learning and serving. As my time in the clerk's office came to a close, I faced an important decision. Many job applications asked for my earliest possible start date, but I refused to begin elsewhere before November 21st, honoring my commitment to this township until my official end date of November 20th. I could not, in good conscience, leave prematurely. But this township has been more than a job for me. It has become my home. I've worked hard and faithfully served this community because I truly care about it. One of the biggest blessings in my life is that every day on my lunch break, I get to go home and see my daughters. I get to help make them lunch, love on them, and put them, or at least try to put them down for a nap. This township has allowed me to balance my professional and personal life in a way that means everything to me. Throughout my time here, I've been loyal and dedicated. The only time my time bank was emptied was when my daughters were born, because I prioritized my family, but otherwise, I rarely take time off. I've always strived to be dependable and committed to the work that benefits our township. Tonight, I just humbly ask for the opportunity to continue serving at Superior Township as the Utility Department Billing Specialist and Residential Liaison. I've worked diligently for this township because I love it, and I want to continue to make a difference here. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
My name is Ricky Hardy. I'm the superintendent of the utility department. And I'm just here to talk about how the hiring process was for when I even started here. It was the same. I mean, I got hired, started January 13th. The third Monday of the month, I went to the board meeting. The resolution was read and everybody voted. And same thing happened with the eight hirees that was here. Since Mary been here, same thing. They got hired. They started just the last previous one. He got hired in 2023. He started in January 2nd of 2024. The resolution was supposed to have been read in January, but it was some infighting going on at the board meeting where it had to be pushed back to February. But that's just been the process as long as I've been here. I mean, so even when Ms. Burton came, I mean, she came into something that was already in place. I mean, nobody never had, I think I watched the YouTube. There was nothing ever in place. It's just the way things were done over the decades. See, even when I was here. But the only thing, I'm going off my notes now, but anyway. I know, but listen to what I'm saying. Yeah, we interviewed. I received a call from Rob Blanton in November of 2002, asking me if I wanted the job. He said, okay, you show up January 13th of 2003. No, I want some time back. Give me some time back. But as I was watching the video YouTube, I was kind of taken back when Emily, when you told Mary she did something illegal. And then I heard Ken say there was some corruption. I think that's totally unprofessional. You know, I wish I don't know what it is about Superior Township. When I was at Pittsfield Township, I never seen a board like this. Never. It's just professionally done. And the way things are done here, it just takes me back. You know, I'm like, I just want honest people. That's all I want. And that's all our department asks for, just people that's honest. You know, be forthcoming. There's too many hidden things. Like, I'm gonna bring up some stuff later on that need to be looked into.
Okay.
I know a lot of stuff, and I'm about to start revealing some things because I'm just tired of the way things have been done. Things have been hidden, and I don't like being lied to. And when somebody try to play games with me, you're gonna know. I'm gonna let you know. I'm not the type of person that just sits back, you know, because our department has been run so smooth. And we have a person sometimes just like to disrupt, you know, and I don't like that. I don't like disruption, especially when we in compliance with the state of Michigan. We're taking care of the residents. We make sure we bring in safe drinking water. You know, any main breaks that happen, we own it right away. I mean, we just love what we do, but when disruption is there, it's hard. It's really, you know, I mean, because we up 2 a.m. sometimes while y'all are resting your heads on the pillow. We're taking care of people, and that's what we love to do. But if we can just start being straight up with us as grown-ups.
We're at time.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Harding.
Yeah. I think you guys should have a clock up here so we can visually see.
I agree. Thank you. Hello.
Hi, I'm Bernice Linkey from Allen Mark Drive. I just want to say something about Ricky, what he's saying about process. And there is something written where you can hire people, the directors can hire people and let them start working before the board meeting, before you actually approve it. And I'm sure it's in writing somewhere. I remember seeing it. Anyway, I'm here just to urge you to appoint Irma Golden to the Board of Review. Irma has served with distinction the last 3 years. She knows she's very knowledgeable about the Board of Review. She's clearly an asset to the township. She pours her soul into this township and to the residents, always helping people, And she's open, knowledgeable, honest, and she does things in a fair manner. What I do want to say, I saw a posting, Supervisor Dabashakin's posting on Nextdoor, and I was really glad to see all the different things that you're doing and that you're focusing on, and that you're focusing on creating fair and open processes. I want to say that while I served on the board, 3 people or 3 positions were appointed while I was there. One was Irma Golden to the Board of Review. We all received cover letters or a cover letter and resume, and there was another person at the time who dropped out, but the whole board received that information. When Brenda McKinney retired and we had the treasurer position open, same process. Cover letters were prepared for the board, resumes, we all got to review it. So we had knowledge of everybody. Same with when Lisa's position became vacant, there was an opening for a trustee. Bill Sechrist got it. Emily, you applied. Everybody had cover letters and resumes. The point is the board needs to be informed. Each one of you has a responsibility to all of the residents of the township. The only person of the 3 boards or the 3 members that you're appointing in that resolution or want to appoint, the only one that I know of, the background is Irma, because I've been reading all the stuff that's been coming through. I don't know about the other 2 people that you're recommending for appointment, but I do know that they've served many years, one 10 years and one 20 years. And in your posting, you said that you didn't want to allow people to just continue in their appointment. And I mentioned in the letter I sent that maybe you want to put a term limit on that. But in actuality, the only person I know about with information is Irma, and she's highly qualified. I know nothing about the other, Brian Clark's background. I know that he owns an insurance company. That's all I know. So before you decide on making these appointments, I urge you all to have information on the people.
Thank you.
Irma Golden, Sheffield Drive, and good evening, board, and thank you for this opportunity to speak. One of the things that I did ask the board of review, the board for, is to have the resumes and cover letters for all the people who were candidates. I found out about the opening when I saw a post during Christmas, and I did contact the board to get more clarification. And then I realized that my position was up for appointment. But then as I started looking into it, I realized that 3 years ago, John and Jim were not reappointed. So for over 3 years, they have been in a position without reappointment. I was appointed that following month in January 2021. In addition, I also found out that the position on the website and everywhere else says it's 3 years. By looking up the position with the state of Michigan, I realized we were not following statutory law, which means, and thank you, Emily, I think you did correct that, which means that the position is not 3 years, the position is 2 years, okay? So I'd like to address some concerns regarding the recommended appointment for the board review and offer a few recommendations for improving the process and enhancing transparency, fairness, and communication. Since it was not in the board packet, as I have said, I have provided my resume and my cover letter, and also I have copies of what I'm talking about today. First of all, transparency of documents. I strongly recommend that all board members and the public, as permitted, have access to resumes and cover letters for all hirings and appointment decisions. Making these documents accessible ensures transparency and provides insight into the qualification of candidates, reinforcing public trust and process. Clear and objective evaluation criteria. It's essential that the evaluation criteria for board appointments are clearly defined and aligned with the position's requirement. This ensures that the decisions are made based on merit and not on subjective or personal biases, promoting fairness and consistency in the process. And then I go on to talk about expanded communication. It should not just be the website. and the Superior updates because that is limited. And I also offered saying that it should be posted in the Facebook page, that illumination sign that is outside the utilities and maintenance, because I see Parks and Recreation advertise for job appointments there. Also, social media platforms, the HOA, the flyer posted in the library, and then announcements during the board meetings for upcoming appointments or hiring that we need. Awareness and biases. And when I talk about awareness and biases, I want everybody to know we all of us have our own personal biases.
Ms. Golden, we're at time.
Okay, can I just a few more minutes?
Same rules for everybody.
No, but I did the time and I saw several people that went way over.
They went about 2 seconds over.
Okay, so what I'll do, I'll just wait to the end. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. McKinney.
Madam Supervisor, we should delay our appointments for the Board of Review until February. We need more visibility into the process so that the board members could have the opportunity to understand the process, ask questions, and feel confident in their vote. I'm not saying that the process was bad. What I'm saying is that we need some transparency, and that's very important tonight. And I also have a concern that we've always made sure that the township was geographically represented in the urban service district and the non-urban service district. And I'm very uncomfortable with that. And I would like to make sure that the entire township is represented. So, Madam Supervisor, if you're comfortable, can we pause this until February?
I'm happy.
Can I say something very important?
Ms. Golden, you're out of order. I'm sorry.
We have a board of review 1st of March.
Ms. Golden, you're out of order. Thank you.
Thank you.
So
It does. I'm aware of that.
Raise my hand.
is there,
Ms. Devereaux.
if we have to have like a special meeting before that date, we can do that. But I just think I would like to pause it until February.
So if I may, considering the input from the public, but also recognizing that what I've been doing is implementing processes where processes did not exist before. And I do think it's unusual that there's such a fascination with processes at this juncture and nominations, considering that over the past several years, there hasn't been necessarily clear postings, clear vetting, clear interviewing protocols, and these things are not required by the state. So I see that there are questions from the public, and I respect that you would like to do a deep dive
That's
into.
only if you're comfortable and if there's no impact on the township.
So
If you're not comfortable with it, then I can withdraw that. So
Ms. Devereaux,
Yeah, so I would love to pause. My question is going, I think, which is what Irma was going to bring up, Ms. Golden was going to bring up. Can we? So I know that we have a timeline around Board of Review. If we were to postpone voting on these appointments until either our February meeting or doing a special meeting sometime between now and that February meeting, is there anything I'm not aware of that would make that impossible? Not hard, but impossible.
initially, I thought that this must take place at this meeting. We had the
Okay.
holidays, we had a crunch, and that involved, some of the lapses and folks getting back over the holiday. But ultimately, I did realize that in February, there are certifications that would be available to new board members. And we would still be able to move forward if we table this for a month.
again, I said, with all due respect to you, if you're comfortable and if there's no impact on the township.
Respectfully, I'm sorry to interrupt. Respectfully,
Mhm.
we're all out of order currently.
Oh, are we?
Yeah, this isn't, we just left public comment. I think the next thing was the supervisor's report. I think the option to table it will come up when we discuss the resolution, but I just want to be, respectful of the process and order.
We also
I-
have another public comment.
Yeah, so
Okay.
thank you.
So this
Robert's rules are only so binding, but I hear you.
Yeah, yep.
Please go ahead. Is there anybody else on the floor that would like to make a public comment? Okay.
So may I ask, was Ms. McKinney's comment a public comment? Were you speaking as a trustee or as a citizen?
Trustee.
Okay, just wanted to.
So this comment is from staff. I too would like to voice my support for retaining Irma Golden on the Board of Review. I have yet to see any other member of the board do what Irma has done in terms of outreach intended to educate Superior residents on the taxation and appeals process. I feel she is highly qualified and approachable, and we need more board members appointed that put in the amount of resident-focused effort that Irma does.
Thank you. Hello.
Hold on, Brian. Hold on, Brian. Just wait for the mic, please.
Said sorry, I'm a little under the weather, so my voice is groggly. But anyways, I just want to congratulate all of you publicly. It's the first meeting I've been to. I wasn't able to meet the last one, so I just want to congratulate you guys on a hard-fought race. That's all.
Thank you.
Thanks,
you.
Brian. Thank you. All right, anyone else? Okay. With that, I would ask someone for the support to close the public comment. Okay.
So moved.
Support.
In terms of supervisors' comments, I do want to highlight that if anything, the procedures that I have been working on do intend to put sunlight on the nominations processes and not to expect indefinite appointments. And that has been the practice since I came into this position. Everyone on the Planning Commission that is up for reappointment has been asked to reapply. Everybody that has, in a timely manner, submitted a resume and cover letter has been sat down with and had a conversation about their interest in the positions. And this was the process for the ZBA. This was the process for the Planning Commission. This is what I've been working on with the Board of Review. And so the surprise about the way this has formed surprises me because there has been an opportunity over the years and for the prior board to form, protocols and processes that they are comfortable with. And I didn't see that happen. I find that I'm inventing something new and I am doing my darndest to be transparent and making sure that, each of these appointments is going to be posted publicly. And it should not have been a surprise that anybody was up for reappointment. Those terms are very clearly defined, albeit there was a mistake on the website. But it to me, that shouldn't be an issue for concern. And generally, when we relate and speak to past practice in departments, whether it's with hiring or folks acting in a way that, might make someone uncomfortable, as, Mr. Harding was alluding to, my aim is to follow the law. My aim is to follow what is on the books of this township, and where it is available, my aim is to create more transparent practices. And it may be imperfect at first, but this township, I am confident we're moving it in the right direction. And I have the confidence, and I am proud to be working with this board. And that's all I've got this moment, but I'm looking forward to working through these items with my team up here. All right, so number 7, presentations and public hearing. We do not have anything scheduled, so I'll move ahead to the consent agenda. And would someone like to motion the approval of the minutes? Go for it.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. The supervisor's report, just so you know, under tab 2, I passed out at the table and is very comparable to what was shared on social media in terms of updates. Would someone like to motion to receive and file, or alternatively pull any of the reports?
I'm sorry, I have a question as
Sure.
the process. So I know there was a motion to accept the minutes, and it was properly seconded, but I don't think we
Oh, you're right.
accepted it or not.
Okay.
But since that motion is still on the table, I was just going through the meeting minutes and I just noticed that I think somebody's name is spelled incorrectly.
That's right.
Joshua Golden, and I think Miss Ramona Parker.
Yep.
Miss Ramona Muhammad also mentioned that her name was spelled incorrectly, so that would need to be corrected.
Thank you for pointing that out.
Thank you.
Mhm.
for bringing that up.
So it's been properly moved and seconded
With the edits?
with,
Okay.
with the
The
edits
edits.
approved.
Okay. All in favor of receiving and filing the minutes, accepting them as is?
Uh,
Aye.
Hi.
All right, all in favor. Are there any nays?
Edits?
Is it as is or with the edits?
With the
Sorry,
edits.
you,
With the edits?
With the edits.
Yes.
okay.
So should we do that again?
Yeah, let's
Yeah,
do
but-
that
Said
again.
as is.
All right,
Okay.
anyone to motion to
Accept the minutes pending
accept the minutes
corrections.
with the corrections?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any against? No nays. Okay, moving to reports. Is there a motion to either receive and file the reports or move to pull any of them and discuss?
Yeah, I'll move to receive and file. I had a couple questions about the utilities report, but I think probably Mary is the best person to answer them. So
Okay.
I'll follow up with her.
Thank you.
Support.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All right, moving to our communications. Would anyone motion to either receive and file the communications or to pull any of the items?
So moved.
I'll second.
I would actually like to pull.
You want to pull?
Yeah, I would like to pull the Dave Phillips letter.
Okay.
It's back. So yes, I did want to pull this letter first. Let me publicly acknowledge Mr. David Phillips, both as our past clerk and a past trustee. As a new trustee who is coming into this role, I really appreciated his feedback and recommendations regarding over expenditures and approvals. It was really informative, and I would highly recommend that if anybody hasn't read the letter formally in the board packet, that we all read it. So the reason why I wanted to pull this letter is because in the letter, it speaks to just several issues as to how we got to this deficit. And I think it's important that the recommendations that are provided by Mr. Phillips here, whereas it, is, going through and pulling regularly expenditures that are large amounts. We should discuss those here at the board meetings before we formally accept them. Going back and regularly approving amendments that was discussed in board meetings, but not formally adjusted for in the report. Just to give an example here that, again, our past clerk and trustee Dave Phillips mentioned here. It's the second bullet point. For anybody following at home, this is Dave Phillips, a letter that he approved or that he sent in to the board. This is page 78 and 79. So just one of the examples that he gives, September 16, 2024, controls report indicates that the appropriations from FB was approved for $530,000, but there was a charge of plus $769,000 for a total appropriation from the fund balance of $1.3 million. Again, I mean, I could go throughout this list. I think this just again kind of speaks to the importance of a thing that I think we're going to see tonight is process. Either in practice or in documentation, and it just feels like in abundance. We have a lot of issues to work out, but particularly as it relates to our finances, as we all know, we're undergoing a shortfall currently that we're trying to navigate through. I want to pause and make sure that everybody can hear me. I know we have members of the audience who are hard of hearing or maybe at home. So if nobody can hear me, just please let me know. But yeah, I think this again just speaks to process. And I know, this board has had several conversations regarding the controller. I won't beat that on ahead any longer, but I will just say that I think it's important that we continue to clarify the processes and expectations, for both our finances, hiring practices, and so forth. So looking forward to continuing the discussion. And I see Ms. Devereaux has her hand up, so I'll yield my time back to her.
Well, I'm going to interject briefly and then move over to Sarah. But to your point that this was coming from the controller's report,
Sure.
this was documented and there were opportunities to heed the warning signs. And so paying attention to what's coming down the pipeline, I agree that we need to, work on our practices and enhance our processes, but you are also referencing something that folks received.
Okay, I'll yield my time back.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. Devereaux?
Yeah, so thank you, Dana, for pulling this one out. I was going to do the same thing. And I'd love to, I thought there were a lot of really great questions in here. And I'd love to see us respond point by point to Mr. Phillips' questions. Particularly, there's a bullet point on page 80 of our packets that starts with, in reviewing the various resolutions, controllers reports, balance sheets, and budget amendments, it is difficult to determine what the final costs of the two pathway projects are. I'm fairly certain we have that information, like in layman's terms, that we can share with people, because to Mrs. Mohammed's point, not everyone, whether they're sitting up here, whether they're, whether they're our residents, is able to and has the capability and the skills to sift through some of the reporting that we do. So I do think that there are several things in here that I know we have the answers to. And I would love to see us provide those in response to Mr. Phillips' email.
Okay. And I know that we have some staff and consultants here who can answer the bulk of these questions and understand that it is difficult to comprehend those answers, sifting through reports. But I think that's great feedback in terms of fiscal, just clearing out what's going on.
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
And sorry, I just wanted to clarify. I don't think we have to do it now. I would actually prefer if we did it in writing. And we shared it in like the next board packet as opposed to doing it verbally now. So I just wanted to clarify.
I agree with you. Yeah.
Okay.
Ms.
Would that be
McKinney.
The controller?
It would be the controller, Ms. Mason. Additionally, I spoke with Mr. Sakoff from OHM, and he has a pretty good handle on the cost associated with the projects that Mr. Phillips was particularly interested in. And we had a few conversations about that. But now probably isn't the time. So, but I agree that we need to, in layman's terms, explain where the spending is and how things are playing out. Yeah, I hear you.
Thank you.
Yep.
And can I say something?
Please.
My plan is to meet with the controller and also Nancy to go over some things too regarding the finances.
Just point of clarification, Madam Clerk, is the clerk currently reporting to you?
You mean the controller?
Sorry, I'm sorry. Geez, woo, my fault.
It's late.
Is the controller currently reporting to you?
I did talk to him, but as far as going into details about different finance things, we haven't communicated about that yet. But the plan is to move forward in doing that. I have talked to him.
I have mostly been
recently.
communicating with him.
Yeah.
So I'm just taking down a note that we're going to respond. We're going to talk to the controller and we're going to put it in, and anyone else, and we're going to put it in writing on the points that Mr. Phillips raised.
Yes, I will talk to the controller.
Awesome.
Okay, anything else with communications? Okay. Is there a motion to receive and file the reports?
So moved.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we're moving to new business and to resolution 2025-01, the hiring moratorium. Is there a motion to discuss?
Yes. So moved. I just need to get there.
Okay.
I did. Sorry. Thanks. So the thing that I wanted to talk about is related to our next agenda item and the reason that I asked to switch them. So I'm curious, so as the moratorium is written, we are excluding fire and law, which I think makes sense. I agree with that. And I'm curious if we are including utilities in this moratorium, given that utilities operates separately. My assumption is that it is included because it's not called out as being separate, but I just wanted to make sure that I had the correct understanding before voting.
Yep, that's the correct understanding.
Okay.
Can I ask a question on that point? So
Please, Mr. Green, go for
thank
it.
you. Okay, so I just want to understand. So we're recognizing that utilities operates as a separate enterprise. There, so the general fund, which we're trying to, get back into a healthy balance, would not be affected by operations at utilities. So why would the hiring freeze be? Why would utilities be included in the hiring freeze?
To take a look at practices, and still utilities has generally been treated similarly in terms of hiring, firing, raises as all of the other departments, excluding law and fire. And with that, and we have these calls for taking a closer look at our practices and policies. And I know that there are some other concerns around this hiring. I think it should follow suit that we slow down and do an assessment and revisit this issue in May.
Okay, so again, this is just a clarifying question. So depending on the outcome of this resolution, then what would happen to the following resolution that we're supposed to discuss here today? So that would go into a freeze and then,
Review it. And fine.
That's what I would anticipate,
In 4
yes.
months.
okay, so again, clarifying. So what would happen to the person that is currently sitting in that position? What would be the,
That position would not be able to be hired for.
so that position would be vacated?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I ask a process question?
Please, Sarah.
It's so hard, right? Like one of the reasons that I was struggling with the order of these two on the agenda is because they're so closely tied to one another and there's so many dependencies between the two. So are we, from a process standpoint and an MTA standpoint, are we able to discuss and ask questions on 2 resolutions at the same time before voting? Or do we have to vote on this before we discuss the resolution around the utilities role? I don't know what the rule is.
It would be this resolution. This resolution is currently.
It has to go first before we have any further discussion.
Because we moved to end the agenda, yeah.
Thank you.
Is there any discussion or any
I'll make
points?
a motion to remove resolution 25-1 to impose a temporary moratorium on hiring.
I'll second.
Shall we take a roll call?
Dabash Yakine.
Dabish,
I mean, I'm
Yakine.
sorry.
That's okay.
Davish Yakine,
Aye.
Devereaux,
Aye.
Green,
Please return to me.
Okay,
Lewis,
please return to him.
With hesitancy, because this also impacts my department as well.
It affects all of us.
Is that an aye?
That's enough.
Okay.
so you said come back to you.
No, she said it impacts.
She said,
I just
yes,
said with hesitancy, because
She's-
it also
she's a yes.
impacts my department as well.
Okay. Robinson, aye. Green,
no.
The resolution passes. Oh, I'm sorry, Ms.
McKinney, I'm sorry.
Well, I'm gonna have to vote yes because of the deficit in our budget. And the only way that we can balance our budget is to freeze a lot of things, not just hiring, but spending, period. So we're gonna have to not just freeze hiring, but other spending as well until we get our budget balanced. And this is temporary, not permanent. So I'm voting yes.
Okay, the motion passes, the resolution passes. Now moving back to unfinished business. Resolution 2025-76, a resolution to hire a billing specialist and residential liaison. Is there a motion to discuss?
So moved.
Okay.
Second, yeah.
So I mean, because these two resolutions are so tied together, the previous resolution that we just voted on and this resolution here currently regarding the hiring of the billing specialist. My only concern, and again, I'll go back to process here. We just voted to freeze hiring all the way across the board. To understand that without first discussing a position that is already currently being filled, that has been approved for in the budget. There are a lot of issues around this hiring process, and I would have liked to have discussed them. But because essentially this resolution is no longer relevant, I'm having a hard time collecting my thoughts. So I'll yield my time to other folks if there are other items to discuss. But I would have preferred that we discuss this resolution prior to voting on the hiring freeze.
Thank you for your comments. Ms. Devereaux?
So I have some thoughts on this situation in particular, but again, sorry, process question. My intention with suggesting that we flip the agenda items was that it seemed like if we were going to make a decision on the moratorium, that would need to happen in order to make a decision here. But I mean, if that was not a good suggestion, could we have just rejected? We voted, right? Like,
Yes.
okay, so I just want to make sure that could we have just rejected that suggestion? Because I certainly don't want to not have us have the right discussions in the right order. That's not my intention. That's okay.
Yeah, I understand that, Ms. Devereaux, but it went to a vote, so
Okay, so, okay.
it's already been voted on.
So I realize, that we've voted on the freeze across the board. A few things that I was curious about related to this, and again, I'm wondering if Mary's the right person to speak to some of this. The thing that is not clear to me is whether or not, like fire and law, like, is this position essential? And if it is, like, what is the justification and the business case for it being essential? And I realized that the responsibilities and the compensation was expanded quite a bit. And so I was curious to learn more about the rationale behind those decisions as well.
I can give
So-
you what I've learned, Sarah, even though Ms. Burton is not here at the meeting to discuss it and it seems was unable to attend. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. But the best that I can answer it is that these responsibilities are able to be taken on by more than one person in the department. And my understanding is also that the department can operate without the position. Additionally, the lady who was previous in the role was at 2450. And this has jumped to something like 3567.
Yes, I think it's 35, 65 or something like that. Yeah.
It's an expanded position.
And
Overlapping responsibilities.
two, because there's an expanding position that also underscores the need for this to have come before the board for approval. earlier. It makes it less justifiable that it didn't come before the board in the first place.
So, I mean, at this point, we're not really voting on the resolution because we've already voted to freeze hiring.
Okay.
So,
Shall we call the vote?
but there's nothing to vote on. We already froze hiring.
Should we pull it from the agenda then? Is that even an option? Just strike it from the agenda? Because we already approved the agenda as is.
Madam Clerk, what is your?
I think we need to vote on it because it's on the
Yeah.
agenda. Yeah.
What are you asking?
Dana, Mr. Green, believes that we shouldn't vote on this because the point is moot. But I believe that we should because we approved the agenda as is and it's still an item on the agenda. So even if it's redundant, I think that we should still take a vote and it won't harm anything.
That way it will cover ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, shall we take a roll call then?
I'm sorry. I just want to add. Can I ask for clarification? Hey, Fred.
Yeah, can you?
Sorry, can you please clarify this process
Yes,
for us?
please. Because this.
I think that you should vote on this resolution, and the reason for that is because even though you have passed a resolution for a hiring freeze,
Yeah.
that is a resolution, and any resolution of the township, you can make an exception to it. You can vote something that's an exception to that resolution if that's what you so desire to do. And for that reason, I believe that it is still relevant to vote on this resolution. Because the resolution is not for all time, as you know. And if you choose to make an exception to the hiring freeze that you've made, which you have the right to do, that's something you should vote on.
That feels right to me.
Okay. Thank you, Fred. Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah.
Ms. Devereaux?
So sorry, Fred, I might need you back for a sec. So that means then so we didn't add to the previous resolution that it explicitly included utilities. We didn't add that verbiage. So if somebody wanted to, they could add to the resolution that we're looking at here, that it is explicitly not included in the hiring freeze. We could
could.
reference it so that there is something to vote on.
As I said, this is a resolution of the board. Board resolutions do not carry the same weight and authority, for example, as an ordinance. You have the right to make exceptions to any resolution that you've passed. You're not bound by that. So yes, whether you do it as saying that there's an exceptions for the utilities department, or just say that, that this is an exception to the rule that you've all voted on, which you have the right to do, you can do it that way.
Okay, great. So Dana, I wouldn't.
There's Sarah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead and direct your question.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I have other concerns with this hire from a process standpoint, the word of the night. But if someone did want to suggest that we amend this in order to talk about, to actually reference that it's not included in the hiring freeze, I just want to call it it sounds like you could do that.
Theoretically.
Okay.
Okay, but then we just, as a board, discussing the previous resolution that utilities was included in the hiring freeze, but are we saying on a technicality that it's not?
There's always an option to amend an order or to amend a resolution. It's not as binding as an ordinance. It's our internal workings, our internal policies, and we can adjust it as we see fit. There's always space to make change.
Sure, yeah, I
Just
understand that. I'm just trying to clarify because it seemed like from the previous discussion, we said that utilities was included.
It is.
And yeah, so I mean, let's just call it a vote. I appreciate the flexibility. Let's just call it a vote.
Thank you, Mr. Green.
So Dabish Yakine,
Aye.
Devereaux,
Aye.
Green,
Aye.
Lewis,
Aye.
McKinney,
Aye.
Robinson, aye. Schwartz absent.
Okay.
So, okay. So the resolution that we just voted
Yeah,
on,
I just did a goofy thing tonight. So,
the resolution that we just voted on was the utilities resolution.
so is to deny it. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to make sure that
Okay.
Yes,
Wait, it was to what?
the utility.
it was passed. We passed the resolution.
Correct.
We all just passed it.
So
Correct.
can we revert? Can we recall that?
Can you?
No, we
repeat it?
passed the resolution, which means we
Oh.
hired him.
For goodness sakes.
Can I pause for, can I request a recess, please?
Take a recess. Thank you.
It was called right.
I don't think it was called. It was
No, it
put into the
wasn't.
context of not doing the hire.
Okay, I would like to call a recess, so 5-minute recess, please.
That is a great idea.
Okay, let's
Thank
take a
you.
recess.
The Christinas, please, can y'all?
Oh, sorry.
That is how you get Thank you, please, yeah, that would be great, thank you.
I know. And you know what happens, actually, you know what should happen is that always a resolution should be registered before it's actually approved. Period. And I think it was a discussion that caused confusion. And a resolution, I mean, they should always be registered before. Read it now. Let's see what it is. Yeah. Is that fine? Oh, was never read? I think so too. I think so too. I think so too. But I think all of us cool. Yes. I don't absolutely.
That's what
Okay. Yeah.
So we did vote to approve it.
It's okay. This is what we're gonna do. Yeah. We're gonna. Practice it, and then we're gonna read it again. We're gonna read it again.
So we're gonna recall.
Yeah, we're gonna do it again.
Yeah, okay, let's call it.
Because you put it-
Let's call it. Call it.
Dana, where's it? Do you want to?
We'll start.
Well, and again, the other one. A motion must be read before.
And that was so.
Yeah, we should. Well, you know what, they don't need to be ready if no one has a discussion about it. If it's just a, you know, like that, you know, but if it's, when there's been discussion, we need to make sure that it's. So then it's-
All right, I'd like to call the meeting back to order. And to clarify, what we're going to do is we're going to do a roll call to recall the vote. And then we will do a reading of the resolution and we will vote once again. So clerk, could you please walk us through that?
Let me get the resolution. Sorry, I'm trying to find.
Are you okay?
So I'm going to read the resolution.
First, we'll recall the past vote. And I think that we can do that through a roll call.
Okay.
So
Did your mic come
let's
on,
say,
Yes, it's on.
is there a motion to recall the past vote?
So moved.
Support.
I'm going to do roll call. Davish Yakine,
Aye.
Devereaux,
Aye.
Green,
Aye.
Lewis,
Aye.
McKinney,
Yes.
Robinson, yes. And then I'm going to read the resolution.
And is there a motion to move the resolution regarding the utility hire?
So moved.
Is there support?
Support.
Okay, could you please read it to while we call the vote?
Okay. Resolution to hire billing specialists and residential liaison, resolution 2024-76. Whereas the Superior Township Utility Department has a billing specialist and residential liaison vacancy. And whereas Landis Smith was selected to fulfill the billing specialist and residential liaison duties as set forth by the utility director and has performed the duties outstandingly. Now therefore, the Superior Township Board hereby approves hiring Landis Smith as the billing specialist and residential liaison at the wage of $35.36 per hour.
And I believe you take a roll call.
Davish Yakine,
By the way, I don't like going first every time.
Huh?
I don't like going first every time.
Okay.
No, nay.
Devereaux,
Nay.
Green,
With the understanding that this is part of the hiring freeze, nay.
Lewis,
Nay.
McKinney,
No.
Robinson, no.
Thank you. Okay, we're at 11B, and that is the resolution 2025-02 ZBA appointments to the Board of Review. It's appointments to the Board of Review. Okay.
So moved.
Is there any support? And is there a, we have
Discussion.
a discussion?
Discussion. I would like discussion, please. So I think we've the word tonight is process, as Ms. Devereaux said. So want to speak again to process. So this evening we were all presented with the resumes and cover letters of all four applicants. So I want to state two things, and these are all things that me and Miss Emily Davishak kind of have talked about. But I also want to make this public information. At least I, as a board member, was not aware that we were opening up the board of review application process prior to the notifications going out. So that was a bit concerning to me. So seeing that I was not aware that we were even opening the board of review application process up prior to the email notifications going out, how could I have been aware that what the process was going to be? Secondly, as it pertains to these resumes and cover letters that were provided to us late this afternoon, and were also printed for us and placed on the board table this evening. This is the first time I have had the opportunity to thoroughly review these applications. So I'm having a hard time confidently voting on if these members should be appointed.
Ms. McKinney?
Are you?
Yeah, please.
Okay. As I said earlier, and you brought to my attention, thank you, that we should delay our appointment for the Board of Review until February. And we need more visibility into the process so all board members have the opportunity to understand the process and ask questions and be confident in their vote. I'm not saying that the process was wrong. There's some concerns and questions to give some of the board members the opportunity to ask questions. And the other concern I have, and as I said earlier, that we've always made sure that our township was represented geographically. And so far, I don't see that with these appointments. So that's a concern that I have. And if it's no, it won't be a problem for the township, with all due respect to you, Madam Supervisor. And if you're comfortable with it, can we delay the process? I mean, I think Ms. Golden was bringing up as I was speaking that the Board of Review is coming due March 1st. So maybe the board members can have time to, maybe in a week, to ask you questions about the process, and we can still maybe have a special meeting. Don't get mad at me, to have a vote. I just think we need to do that. And I have some questions for you regarding the geographics of your appointments, because I want to see the township represented geographically as well. And everyone is from the urban service district, and there's no one from the non-urban service district.
Unless you count me as the
Pardon?
unless you count me as the secretary of the board of review.
I wouldn't count you.
Okay.
I would like to see an actual person,
So to that point,
resident.
to that point,
Mr.
Brenda. So this is for everybody at home that is watching and everybody in the audience. This is the authorities and responsibilities of the Michigan Township Association manual. This is the most recent version that was published in November. And to the concerns about board representation, so there actually it is several options that we have that we could use to address that point. So as it currently stands to the current board of review members. So there is a possibility for us to maintain the current board of review appointees as they exist, while also appointing alternates. It states in the MTA, the Michigan Township Association, this is reference to law of the Michigan Constitution, the township board may appoint not more than 2 alternate members for the same term as the regular members of the board of review. So that is an option that is available to us. The board is also has the ability to expand the board of review from 3 members to 6 members. This can speak to the geographical necessities and diversity that exists within our township. So if we were to pause the appointment of board of review members, I would also think that was something that we might want to consider as a future practice. That way, we're ensuring that we have diversity of not just thought, gender, and race, et cetera, where they live. But we've kind of expanded the board to make sure that we, have the possibility to include all of those things.
Thank
So,
you
I
for
just wanted to-
recognizing that. That has always been very important to the township board in the past to make sure that the township was represented geographically. And thank you for understanding that.
Yep,
Mr.
no problem.
Lucas?
Two things. Number one, this is just a clerical matter. I noticed in the agenda, it says ZBA appointments.
I saw that
also
too.
noticed that.
Yeah,
Not accurate.
I know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
also
They're
noticed
not
that.
ZBA appointments,
Mhm.
they are board of
For
review.
review.
Mhm.
Secondly, just to the point that you raised, Dana, MCL 211.28 provides that the board of review, the township board may appoint 3, 6, or 9 elected.
Mhm. Yep, that's correct.
Board of review. So that is a possibility that the board can consider also, is whether they wish to expand the number of members on the board of review. You're not required to have just 3. That is your option of expanding that beyond that. And also, there is a provision that the township board may fill any vacancy that occurs in the membership of the board of review. A member of the township board is not eligible to serve on the board or to fill any vacancy. Just wanted to make sure you understood that.
Okay.
And a spouse, mother, father, sister, brother, son, or daughter, including an adopted child of the assessor, is not eligible to serve on the board of review. So just wanted that brought to the attention of the board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Ms. McKinney, are you making a motion to table this resolution?
I support that, Ms. McKinney.
Okay.
Ms. Devereaux?
Do we need to include any specifics around whether or not how long we're tabling it for? So are we making a decision at the next board meeting? Are we doing a special meeting?
Based on my research and concerns about certifications and process, the word of the night, as you mentioned, that we would be fine to move this to the next board meeting and that this would not require a special session, as there is a certification that's available after the next board meeting and would have folks ready in time for the March board review.
Perfect.
Okay.
So we can bring this back if it aligns with your motion.
Yes,
At the next board. meeting.
Absolutely. Mhm.
I support.
And you're okay with that?
I'm okay. I support it.
Okay. And the rest of the board is okay with it?
My question has been asked, and it was asked by trustee Devereaux with respect to when should we make a decision? So that was going to be
Yep.
my question.
Would that be at the February, what month is this?
Exactly.
January?
Yeah, it'll be the February meeting.
Are we in February? Oh, that'll be done in February, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so we would have time.
We would have time.
Okay.
We would have time. Okay.
So shall we do a roll call based on Ms. McKinney's proposal?
17th.
Or-
If we need an action,
Mhm.
it will be February
February
17th.
To table this and bring it back in 30
It might
days?
be the 18th if that's President's Day. I'm sorry.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, it'll be the next.
Thank you, Lisa. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Putting the date in there would be.
Yes.
Is
Okay.
there a point? You two look like you have a point.
So I just want to clarify.
Mhm.
So Brenda, you made the motion.
I'm supporting it.
As the supervisor, are you allowed to support or?
She can
I can
support,
support
she
it.
just can't
Yeah. And I can make motions, but it's frowned upon.
All right, I just wanted to clarify.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Roll call. Dabish Yakine,
Yes.
Devereaux,
Yes.
Green,
Aye.
Lewis,
Yes.
McKinney,
Yes.
Robinson. Yes. Short steps.
Okay. That passes and we'll bring it back in 30 days. All right, moving to resolution 2025-03. I'll need Mr. Lucas on this one.
And
It-
that's the one on the table, correct? The one that was.
Yes,
given
there's
to
a
us?
small adjustment that we made to it. It is a resolution regarding sidewalks that we'll get into detail on. Is there a motion? to
Move the
discuss?
resolution, this sidewalk resolution.
Yes, support.
All right, and I'd like to add in some discussion. As we've seen over the past many months, there has been significant concern from the public, what the township's relationship was with various contractors, whether they were currently insured, whether they were up to date in their licenses. And my feeling is that the legal status of these things was not being clearly communicated. And so my want was to work with our attorney, and we put together a resolution stating to residents that, you know, this would incorporate those that may have worked with Morse or may be concerned that somebody that was unlicensed, uninsured was working on their property. If there was an accident, the ways in which that they would be indemnified. And I know that there's been a lot of roundabout conversation, but to me, it's not been specifically spelled out. And I knew that residents would largely be indemnified and the responsibility was on the township, but I wanted to make sure that that was being clearly communicated. And so what you see in this resolution is really a restating of municipal policy, of state law, and letting folks that know that they are not on the hook. And we spent some time putting this together. Is there anything that you think we should highlight, Mr. Lucas?
I just want to let the public know there is a statute that deals with sidewalks. That
Right.
statute provides that a sidewalk that is adjacent to a road is ultimately any responsibility for that in terms of any injuries or any claims for damages fall upon the municipality, not upon the individual property owner. And I cited the statute in that resolution also, so that you have a copy of it.
Right.
So where there were many questions about the ifs, what could happen to my property? Could I be sued? This just very clearly lays out that the township has significant responsibility, and, you know, property owners are not going to be affected by who the township was in contract with.
Yeah, and not only that, you should be pointed out that the standard for bringing suit for a faulty sidewalk is fairly high. I mean, there has to be a discontinuance of some 2 inches before, you know, that's one of the standards that's talked about in the ordinance. I mean, in the statute, not the ordinance. Consequently, that the fear of, you know, litigation, as long as, you know, I think we have an obligation as a community to inspect our sidewalks to make
Yes,
sure
we
that
do.
these discontinuances, or I don't know what you want to call it, in the sidewalks don't exist. But other than that, as long as the sidewalks, you know, there's a minor chip in a sidewalk or something like that would not be sufficient to warrant liability against the township.
Ms. McKinney?
Yes, I can remember when we did our first sidewalk project. I don't know if you can remember, Fred.
Wow.
And George, it was Steve Chiswick who helped us with that. And we do it every 5 years. Is that correct? Every 5 years for
I
the,
think that was it, that we had just gone through and looked at what had been done. But I think if anybody thinks that there is a problem with a particular piece of the sidewalk that's been done, you know, we probably should just send someone out to take a look at it. It's not, we're not talking anything, but as I said, the statute talks about what you need. What type of a defect is considered a sufficient defect to support a litigation?
okay, right.
And that's why I cited the statute for you on that. So, again, it's specifically, it says that the municipality has liability for all sidewalks
Right.
adjacent to roadways. Consequently, we're not talking about a sidewalk leading up to someone's house, and we're talking about a side, because those weren't replaced anyways.
Right.
We're talking about sidewalks that are adjacent to roadways, and those are municipal liability issues.
Right.
And
Yeah.
your insurance company covers those.
And I recognize too that this is the first of many steps to offer assurances to the public for those that engage in the sidewalk program, and working towards clarity on what is owed, what was promised, and how they are indemnified. Ms. McKinney?
Do we have any reports of any kind for the sidewalk program this year, how it went? I would like to know how many exemptions did we have? That would be nice to know, and the addresses and the total amount that we paid for exemptions, so that when we do our next project, we can probably budget for it and have that money set aside just in case, I know we do it every 5 years, but if it costs us like, I'm just saying, $10,000, let's make sure we budget 10,000 or maybe 20 for the next time we do the project. That's what, but it would like be, I'm using that as an example, but it would be nice to know so that we can put that money in the budget
Okay.
for the next time.
Yep.
Also, and I know Lisa, I'm sure you have that information, the total amount collected
I do.
and the total amount outstanding and the total amount that was tax roll. You have that. That would be nice to have, Treasurer Lewis. But just a report on how it went this time. And so we can see what we need to correct next time and so that we won't have the problems 5 years from now.
Okay. Thank you for that. Right. Shall we call the vote?
Davis Yakine,
All right, let's see what we're voting on. So this is resolution 2025-03 to approve the 2025 sidewalk resolution as submitted at the table where therefore be it resolved cites Michigan compiled law.
So,
Yes.
so move.
Okay.
I think it was already, I thought it was already moved and
Yep,
supported. I
and so
thought
we're
she
just
was
gonna do the
doing a
roll call.
Oh,
I
you
just
doing a
wanted to
roll
see what
call?
We're voting on.
Yeah.
No.
Sorry.
yeah. Davis Yakine,
Aye.
Devereaux,
Hi.
Green,
Aye.
Lewis,
Yes.
McKinney,
Yes,
Robinson, yes.
I'm sorry.
Moving to item D, resolution 2025-04, approve the 2025 poverty exemption guideline for the Board of Review. Is there a motion?
Yeah, I'll move this. It would also be nice to have, when we do this report, you'll be doing this at the Board of Review, right?
Yes.
I would like to know, how many did we approve for poverty exemption?
Okay. Okay, very good. Thank you. Any other comments?
Sorry, she moved, but do we need a second before we?
Did she get support?
Yeah.
Okay,
So second.
wonderful.
And then I did have one question that doesn't need to be answered now, but similar to trustee McKinney's request for reporting. I'm just curious about like how this compares to former guidelines,
Yeah.
how it compares to other townships, particularly around dollar amounts. Like I don't have a lot of background on this, but it does seem like there's, good, that we are increasing the allowable income by a good amount, which is great. And I'm just curious how that compares to other standards.
What I understand is that this has been consistent with our calculations over the past several years, at least, that we've gone with the 85th percent. Many townships and cities surrounding us may go even higher. And then some areas just work with the federal poverty guidelines, specifically as they are. But this was a formula that Paula has used or assessor has used in years past. And we do have that flexibility.
Okay, great to
you.
know.
So,
Ms.
I'm sorry.
McKinney?
No, go, let Mr. Green go ahead.
I appreciate that,
Green.
Ms. McKinney. Sorry, I'm just a stickler for formalities, but so when Ms. Devereaux seconded the motion, there has to be a formal call for discussion, and then.
Oh, I thought.
But it happened already, so I'm very sorry. That's just
We'll
my
talk
thing.
offline, Dana.
Yeah, but so I did just want to like make it known. So this we would be amending a current ordinance that already exists, correct? So that's number 159. Right, or am I looking at the wrong thing?
159 is related to the Danbury tech exemption.
Yeah.
We're looking at the poverty exemption guidelines.
So sorry, I just
We're on it.
yeah. So we're in this. Yeah, I got you. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure I was looking
Yep.
at the right. Thank you.
But otherwise, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
we are.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'll come back to that point. Go ahead, Miss.
What I was gonna say is that fortunately, and we're very thankful that in our township, we normally don't get a lot of these poverty exemptions. So if that's a concern to the board, if we get a lot of these, but I don't think we've gotten maybe more than 2 or 3 at a time, and that's quite a bit for the township. So I wouldn't concern myself too much. But the way things are now, I wouldn't be surprised
Yeah.
if we wouldn't get
Yeah.
more, so.
Well, and just to clarify why I was asking, I think that things are hard, and there's a lot of economic headwind. And I was just curious around how this compares to other townships and if we are being appropriately, generous with the amount that we're allowing, because I think we should be.
We
So
are.
not necessarily that, there's,
Right.
I'm concerned that we'd have too many, but wanting to make sure that we are putting a threshold in place where we are truly allowing people who deserve an allowance like this to get in.
Right.
Right? Just is this amount high enough?
Right. Fortunately, like I said, we don't get a lot of them. So.
Sure.
Call the vote. Okay, we're voting on the resolution to approve the 2025 poverty exemption guideline for the Board of Review. Let's take a roll call.
Dabish Yakine,
Aye.
Devereaux,
Aye.
Green,
Aye.
Lewis,
Aye.
McKinney,
Yes.
Robinson, yes.
Right. All right, the next item is Resolution 2025-05 to approve, amend, and extend an agreement between Superior Charter Township Parks and Recreation Commission and Willow Run Acres regarding Clay Hill Community Farm and Garden. Is there a motion on the table?
So move.
Second.
Okay, and a discussion? Mr. Collins,
Yes, good evening, everyone.
good evening.
Hi.
Hello. I bring this up because of possible funding. The USDA, the National Department of Natural Resources Conservation Services, they have a window of opportunity of funding. And for our project, we are one of 90 applications in Washtenaw County and Wayne County, and it's a very high competitive bid to ask for funding. And what we're asking for is that if we can extend or mend our lease is possible, because the things that we are asking for from the USDA is a compost facility funding, rain runoff structure, so that way we can collect the rainwater and reuse the rainwater, so that way we can use that for our compost tea. So that way we are saving at least $2,800 per year. Because we are a nonprofit organization, we do have a tight budget. Addition to those two things, we are also in line for a pumping plant. A pumping plant is a operation to pump the water that we collect off the rainwater, off of the rain barrels. When we get the infrastructure built to conserve on water, so that way we don't have to use that much water from Yaka. What I brought up about saving $2,800 per year, it cost us $1,400 per 100 yards of compost. At the location that we're at already, we are producing our own compost. This would be our second year of producing our compost, so that way we can conserve and save on the resources, buying stuff outside of our community, but use the resources that's in our community, which is Superior Township. The fourth item is that it's a high tunnel structure. The high tunnel structure has a life span of 5 years, meaning that having it on the premises is a 5-year commitment from the renter and also our partner, Superior Township. The other three, the compost facility, the rain runoff structure, and the pumping plant, it has a structure of lifespan of 15 years. So in order to get these USDA dollars, federal dollars, we have to have hopefully an amendment to be put in place, so that way we can get these federal dollars. Please.
I'd like to share some background. Our Parks and Rec Director, Mr. Bradford, reached out to Clerk Robinson and I after the reports and the agenda was initially finalized, and shared concerns that Clay Hill could be up for a USDA grant, and that his understanding was that they needed to have a 15-year lease in order to be eligible. Clay Hill has currently been on for an 11-year lease with the township. And given the length, the duration, this expansion, I asked our Parks Director, can you please show me the grant guidelines and can you show me, what the deadline is for this project? And he got back to me about a day ago, or it was this morning, sharing that this was a rolling grant cycle and that it didn't sound like that there was a sense of urgency in needing this on the agenda now tonight. And in addition to that, I asked him to look at the grant requirements. And I said, if there's concern about continuity of the project, and that's why the USDA wants to see a longer lease associated with the grant, I asked if we could apply as the township. And I didn't think that that would be an unusual thing if the township could apply in partnership to satisfy the want for a 15-year grant. And Mr. Bradford was unable to find the grant or the grant guidelines for me. I asked just about a week ago, and I've been in touch a few times, but to me, this doesn't feel like it's necessarily something that is urgent, and this may in fact be something that the township can take on by applying for the grant with you in order to relieve the lease concerns.
Can,
Ms. McKinney.
is it, I saw this and I really don't understand it at all. I'm very confused. Really, I am. If there's someone on the board that can explain to me, I would really appreciate it. Okay.
Well,
Mr. Green.
I might not be the right one to explain, so I want to make sure you're clarified first, and then I'll ask my question, a follow-up question.
Sure. So this resolution, and I'm not, did your team write this one or did this come from Mr. Bradford?
The only thing we did was just updated it to the 15 years. It was already a resolution in place.
Right. So the
for
reason
5
why,
years.
so this was intended to be a resolution to extend the lease and anticipating that it might offer more grant opportunities for Clay Hill, but I have not been able to see in writing that this would be necessary because the township, I think, could actually apply for these grants.
Can we,
Ms. McKinney?
can we, so we don't have to make a decision tonight? Is that what you're saying?
Well, we are hoping to make some type of decision tonight because we are meeting with the USDA tomorrow morning. The grant cycle is a year behind because of the last time that we applied for the funding. We lost out on the funding because we didn't have anything into the ground.
It was a
And so-
requirement issue again.
So this time around, we do have stuff on the ground on the farm market side.
Uh-huh.
We're trying to comply as much as we can, but like I said, it is a competitive grant.
Right.
And if we don't get in line now, we won't be able to possibly get funding until 2026.
Well, I think what you're doing is a great thing. I love it. I just hope you grow some okra. I love okra. I would like to see a little bit more. I wish he had given us more information.
Mr. Collins, can you clarify as to why the grant process is a year behind? You said it was because nothing was in the ground. What was the cause of that last year?
The last time that we applied, they did a site visit.
Mhm.
And when we did a walk around, there was the ground or the contents of the ground was not cleaned off in time.
Mhm.
When we did the site visit, the trees were still there, the
Mhm.
large brushes were still there. So
Mhm.
now that they did clear it and we started putting plants, cattle panel
Mhm.
and trees into the ground, we now met the requirements for what the USDA asked for,
Sure.
but their grant cycle goes upon the previous year. So
Right.
any funding that goes from last year is met this year. So
Mhm.
anything that's going forward now is on the grant cycle for July of next year.
Right.
And
And
that's why
so,
we're in that small time window.
yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Okay.
And so just another clarified question. So it was because there were still trees and roots and things like that still in the ground. And maybe you can help refresh my memory because if I remember correctly, there was, and this was before my time on the board, there was a issue with contractors clearing the land in an appropriate amount of time, and therefore that delayed your grant
Yes, it
processes. Is that correct?
That is correct.
If I may add something, I think that part of the issue too was that the grant required some sort of vegetation or a plant to be growing on the property, and there was nothing growing at the time that the USDA came to look at the site.
That is also correct because at the time of the north property off of Harris Road, that was not cleared off in time. So that delayed that process for the high tunnel. and also for the composting facility. Now that we are on the MacArthur side, I have over 800 yards of leaves that's over there to make leaf compost, but we don't have access to making compost rainwater. Rainwater helps control the bacteria growth of plants.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So that's why we're.
Please, Lisa.
I just wanted to ask a question. I'm reading that it states a total of 15 years and the cost of it. Is this really just a 4-year extension, or are we looking at 15 years starting today if this was approved tonight?
The way I understand it, that the shelf life of the grant, that we have to have it in writing from the board. That way, we have a 15-year lease. So if we have already 11 years to extend it to the 4 years, it could be 15 years.
I think that the way it's written, though, is that it looks like it's a 15-year starting from today.
Yes.
And additionally, there are other issues regarding just some site plan issues that I would like to learn a little bit more about. But my feeling is that this is not something that needs to be voted on this evening, especially when we don't know what the grant requirements are as a board. That's a really significant extension of a lease without any data behind it.
When did it start? I mean, what's the starting date for the 11 years and what was the ending date for the 11 years?
Well,
So-
after I signed my first lease with the township, I went down to the USDA to get funding because we are a nonprofit organization.
Right.
And I obtained a farm number and a tracking number. So that way I am into the system.
Okay.
But in order to create the timeline, it goes upon the approval of the day of the lease.
Okay.
So
From the
that's why we're
township.
trying to amend the lease. So that way it goes concurrent or currently of the 15 years.
Does the township have a contract or something?
We don't have an MOU on the record. I contacted Carlisle Wortman, our planning consultants, about this, but we don't have a very specific MOU. We do have a lease agreement, but I don't think that's what's referenced in the board book.
So, okay, so is there a lease agreement? So I just want to make sure I'm understanding this correctly. So does Mr. Collins representing Clay Hill Farms currently have a lease on the Clay Hill property for 11 years?
Yes.
So he currently has a lease for 11 years. So we're asking, and maybe that this means that there needs to be some an amendment to this resolution as far as the timing. But what we're asking is to extend his lease from 11 years to 15 years, so a 4-year extension.
Total
Sounds
of
like it.
15.
Yes.
However, this doesn't read to as an amendment. It just
Right.
reads as a
Mhm.
resolution. And the way that this reads, it reads that if this
Sure.
begins on tonight, it'll be 15 years beginning today.
Mhm.
And so, and I heard both of you, and the concern that, when I said both of you, I'm sorry, I mean Supervisor and Mr. Collins. The concern that I have is that I heard what your urgency is, but I also heard your urgency. So is this something that can be tabled? Can you reschedule an appointment? I'm just asking, I don't know how appointments are scheduled with the USDA.
I have to keep my place in line for a meeting with the USDA tomorrow. I'm meeting with the senior engineer. They were supposed to come out to the site to look at the grounds of, excuse me. They were supposed to come out and look at the grounds so that way they can get an assessment of building the concrete for the compost facility. And the concrete facility is basically a 3-compartment where it's a cement slab with 3 walls. And that way we can have 3 different bays of composting facility. That's just an example. We had to cancel that one because of the language of the contract, because we have an 11-year instead of a 15-year lease.
But I am also waiting for the data that indicates the township can't be a signer because it is our property.
What would it mean if you missed your appointment
Yeah.
tomorrow?
Then I would miss funding, and I would be back of the line, and I would have to apply July of next year for 2026 going into 2027.
Mr. Green, I think that he can take the appointment, and I think it's wonderful that you're meeting with them, but there still might be the option that we table this and find out if the township can, sign the grant and apply the grant since we own and maintain the property.
Right, I understand that he can still take the meeting. My concern is that essentially, and if I'm understanding Mr. Collins correctly, it would mean that the Clay Hill project would be pushed back another year based
Not
on,
necessarily.
I'm just repeating what I'm understanding, what is being communicated to me.
Yeah. Mr. Bradford shared with me that the grant was on a rolling basis.
And I don't understand.
Right, so based on the
anything.
grant funding, he would go to the back of the line.
Yes,
Right.
because there's,
Unless we can sign on it as a township.
the only problem is that there's several different categories. There's a minority category, there's a disabled veteran category,
Mhm.
there's a woman category,
Mhm.
and I'm in limbo with each of those categories.
Okay.
So what I'm trying to do is just keep myself in line for that. So that way, if I put, each category goes on a number system.
Mhm.
And in that number system, I'm a minority, but I'm at the bottom of the list. And like I said, at 90 applications throughout Washtenaw County and Wayne County, it is a very tight competitive race. And there's always new farmers always coming online. But at the same time, I respect and understand what you're saying.
Mhm.
The only problem is that
No
if
information.
Mhm.
if I get delayed, then that means my projects that I'm working, trying to comply with the township on our lease agreement, that it puts me further behind. And when the
Right.
public sees that I don't have any progress, then it gets to you guys and say, well, when is the progress going to start taking shape? I have to start working on the project. So that's why I started working on the Harris Road site, because true indeed, we do not have the site plan available for the MacArthur side, but I am trying to make progress as best that I can. And I'm trying to heed and listen to what the township and our lease says.
Is there any way that Mr. Bradford can get us more information so that we can, because he really, I don't know if you saw what was in the board packet.
No, I did not see that.
He really didn't give us any information on it. There's nothing here. Do you think it's possible that we can get something?
Yes, there's always,
I asked for.
that's the whole thing about being
Asked
transparent. That's
for.
why I came in tonight. So that way I was just asking for an amendment for our lease for 4 years. So that way it'll be correct. You know, it's not,
I know.
But he didn't, but Mr. Bradford, is this all he gave?
That's all he gave me. And I did ask for the grant requirements in the schedule. So,
What is this right
And I
here?
have to say, if this
Some
read
kind of
an
app,
amendment for 4 years, I would be in favor of doing this, but this does not read for an amendment of 4 years. That is not how it was presented to us.
that's understandable.
And that was why I asked that question about the 15 years.
Yeah,
Yep.
And I think our trustee Green actually echoed on that as well. I think you saw
did.
that. Yeah, because certainly if it was written as an amendment,
Right.
it would be very different.
Yep.
All in favor of that.
Yep, that's why we have a 10-year with another 10-year lease. And by amending it for that second year or that second term, just adding just 4 years. And I understand that.
yeah, I mean, TC, I want to echo what Ms. Lewis said, Treasurer Lewis said. Right now, this resolution doesn't read, and I remember you asked me right at the beginning of the meeting how this resolution reads. Right now, it reads as if the township will be extending the agreement by, like, not by 4 years, but
Yes.
by 15 years. And so that's where the issue is. It's not, but based on what I understand, it's not that we don't want to extend
Right.
4 years. It's that this resolution, as it's written, doesn't read that way.
Can I
love
ask-
it. I just want you to know, I love what you're doing, the
Thank you.
concept. But can you tell me, what is this? Do you know what this is?
Yes, can I walk up to see what you're looking at?
Yes, that's the same thing.
Thank you. This is, so when you look at the grid,
Right.
you see that the high tunnel has you have to have a lease for at least 5 years or more. So that's why having the 10-year lease that we have now, I do qualify to be in line for the high tunnel.
Okay.
Then you see the other items, the composting facility, you see the rain runoff for the structure, collecting the rainwater, and then you also see the pumping plant. Those are the three components, is what I was describing earlier. They all have a 15-year lease cycle.
All that,
So-
those are years.
Yes, so you have to have a lease for 15
Okay,
years for
I
those
got
three.
it now.
Yes.
These are years. Okay.
And then in the middle column, that is my farm number and my tracking number. So that way I'm in line, so I don't step back
Okay,
out of
it
line.
makes sense. I
Thank-
thought it was a time sheet at first.
Thank you for clarifying that.
That's
So
why.
I have a process question, clarifying question. Is it possible for us to amend this resolution?
Mm-mm.
We have we have made we have made motions in other areas where we say, I make a motion pending
Mhm.
these changes. So could we make a motion to amend this resolution? That way TC could attend his meeting tomorrow with the understanding that the Superior Township is giving him an extension of the 11-year lease that he already has. He would be able to stay in line. That would not delay his progress. But we are also not held culpable based on the amendment that we're making to this resolution tonight.
And I
You
just,
can make
I
the
would just like to say that when
comfortable
that
with it.
motion is read, we need to be.
Be very clear.
we
Be
need to
very clear.
Crystal clear as to what's being read and how it's being stated so that we all know exactly, oh, here's our attorney, so I'll be quiet.
Can I just add?
So-
It would be nice if we had a date, like when it ends, like 15 years for a new board.
I don't feel, I don't like feeling like I'm winging it. Yeah.
In case we aren't here and there's a new
Sure,
board
yeah.
15 years from now, there won't be a date, it'll just say 15 years.
Mhm.
Yeah. I
But
agree
what,
with you.
what date? Like September 30th, 2044 or something?
Sure.
At which point I'll be dead.
I don't know.
I want to make a suggestion.
Okay.
Please,
Yeah, I
Mr.
would love your
Lucas.
suggestions, Fred.
My suggestion is that if you elect to do this, the extension, that the extension would be valid in the event in order that he gets the grant.
Oh,
That's
okay,
interesting.
Good, okay.
And if he doesn't get
That-
the grant, then the extension is not valid.
That's good. Mhm. And also, Mr. Collins, a date. Let's figure it out real quick for him. I mean, you good at.
Well, you suggested September. Well, from what I remember that I did sign the lease in late October, September, October.
Mhm.
Don't quote me on it, but it's around that time. So just adding,
Of 23 or 24? I think it
23.
was 23,
I
wasn't it?
think it was 23.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think so too.
Yes.
Mhm. Can we also do this, maybe if we can't come up with a date, and if Mr. Bradford can call us tomorrow with an actual date to insert that in this resolution, will that work for you guys?
I imagine that could work.
Oh, we have to vote on
We
it.
still have to vote on it, but it could be inserted tomorrow to answer your question now.
Yeah, you just
An additional 4
just
years,
amending
including the
it.
start date.
Gotta be a part of the
Mhm.
amendment.
Exactly.
Okay, will that work?
Can I say, can we have 2 days just in case if the weather and the
Fine.
office is closed
Yeah.
tomorrow, so that we have 2 days just to
Yeah.
be on the safe side?
I'll be here. It's fine.
So what?
Yes, that makes sense.
So
Yeah.
September, what is it? It's 15 years from 2023. So what is that? 2038?
Oh, my goodness.
Well, you guys might remember because
Yes,
you
it is
guys,
20. It's 2038.
you guys might still be here 2038, but I won't.
I would hope that I would still be here.
I won't.
I would hope that I would still be here. Yeah,
Just
it's
keep eating the
2030.
vegetables and the fruit out there at Clay Hill. Yes, you will.
Okay.
So and Madam Clerk, maybe I could request your assistance here. Can we state like an amendment to this resolution? So as that is rather than it being the term, whereas the term of the agreement will be 15 years at the cost of $1 per year, it's an extension of the lease
Adding
from
4
11 years to 4.
I think would it be but then don't we also need to read it as an amended?
Yeah.
Amendment
so,
to the resolution
Amendment
and
to the resolution.
also to add what our attorney said about if it's, if the.
Dependent
extension-
on
only if
grant.
it's- Right, only if the extension is secured.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, so who's going to read that motion back? Oh,
Angela?
Our clerk.
Do you have it, Christina? Okay.
So you
Christina.
got it.
Christina.
I'm sorry. TC just has one quick question.
Oh, okay.
I do got a not question, and I don't mean to give you so much, but with that 15 years, if it does work tomorrow at the meeting, and if it does get that language, do we still keep that option to renew after the 15 years? Because we're investing with the community, and the township is our partner.
That would
and
be, you want us to make a decision 15 years?
that's another resolution, I
Yeah,
think.
that would be.
Okay.
a-
Yeah, because it would have to come back before that board.
In
as a-
15
to
years,
renew.
we'll see you in
Okay.
15 years.
Because I
Maybe
I just-
14 and a
just-
half.
10 and 10. so
We'll
it's
see.
fine.
I do want to flag, is there an interest in seeing if the township can take on the responsibility?
In 15 years?
No, like tomorrow for this application.
In general.
So I do find that interesting. I'm curious if as this is written, and I might be missing something, it doesn't look like if we were to make the amendment that the agreement will be an extension of 4 years for a total lease term of 15 years. I don't think that prohibits us from the township potentially assuming responsibility. Am I reading that correctly, though?
That's correct, but it's,
Okay.
But it
in fact,
won't
the
hurt to
reason,
state
but
it.
it's the impetus for the resolution
Right.
is the
Okay.
assumption that the township can't do it, but I want clarity that the township can't, whereas I think that we might be able to.
I would be curious
Yeah.
in understanding if that's an option, as long as that inquiry doesn't stop us from passing something now.
Okay.
I want to see you move ahead. with the
Thank you.
project.
Okay, Christina, if you're ready.
So are we calling the vote?
I think we just want to be
Gotta
clear
read
about
it.
the
Gotta
resolution.
Okay.
read it.
We want to be clear about the resolution.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
go to the mic.
Amendment to the resolution between Superior Township regarding Clay Hill Farm and Garden. An extension valid if Mr. Hill gets the grant, to amend to add 4 years to the contract.
His name is Mr. Collins, I
I'm
thought.
sorry, Mr. Collins. I'm
Right.
sorry.
It's Clay
I think she
Hill.
got the Clay Hill. Clay
I'm
Hill.
sorry, Mr. Collins.
And can you be specific and say USDA grant?
And did you be ready
Yes.
for a tentative?
Did she read the extension if it's secured tomorrow?
And I'm sorry, can you read it once more and make sure that we're including the piece about the condition, if it's eligible, if the USDA grant is approved?
Okay, so the amendment to the resolution between Superior Township regarding Clay Hill Community Farm and Garden to add 4 years to the contract, valid if Mr. Collins gets the grant, the USDA grant.
Sure.
And we're gonna have an ending. hearing.
That would be September of 2038.
Add that to the
Ending
report.
September of
Or October.
2038.
That way future
Or
boards
October.
come along and they'll know.
So we
Okay, September or October of
you don't
2038.
want it to end in September and it really is October.
Yeah.
Ending September of,
Or
I'm sorry,
Or-
or you want ending October of 2038.
Let's just do October because then it's 1 month.
Flexibility, I understand. Okay.
And remember, you figured that out.
Okay.
Shall we take a roll call? We're calling the vote and we're taking a roll call?
Making a motion.
Roll call.
Okay. Dabish Yakai,
Yes.
Devereaux,
Yes.
Green,
Aye.
Lewis,
Yes.
McKinney,
Yes.
Robinson, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Hope
Yep.
everything goes well
Thank you.
tomorrow.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Hope so too. Thank you.
I got one last question. You have in here that people can, that you're gonna do some farming. If I wanted to do some farming, what would I have to do?
Well, I suggest that you get you some work gloves and some comfortable clothing and just sign up on realrunacres.com. And so that way we can set you up for what's comfortable for you.
Okay, willrunacres.com.
realrunacres.com. And we have a volunteer section on our form, so that way we'd love to have you.
Okay,
That's fantastic.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, line item F, ordinance number 159, amending Danbury Park Manor tax exemption.
I just want to remind you it's on the table.
No, I don't think so. It shouldn't be.
There was an,
It's actually about the fire truck.
yeah, because the packet was amended. prior
Okay,
to it, I
I'm
think.
looking at something old then.
Yeah.
All right,
It's
I'm
about
looking
the
at the old
fire
one.
truck.
All right, so F is a resolution to approve the fire department to repair a fire truck. Chief, could you please come fill the board in? Thank you.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
The fire truck that we're talking about is currently in the shop. That was the one that was damaged November 2024. It was involved in the crash. When the adjuster came out and looked at it, he only gave us the appraisal on repairing the passenger side of the truck, the body. It's a stainless steel body. So repainting that and all that stuff is covered by the insurance. So I asked about repainting the driver's side of the truck because it's got big paint chips missing, blistering and all this stuff, and the yellow chevrons on the back. So finally got the estimate today, this morning, from the vendor, B&B Fire Apparatus Division, to do the repairs and repaint the driver's side of the vehicle. Contacted the insurance adjuster. They would not cover the driver's side because it was not damaged in the accident. It's just wear and tear, and therefore it's our responsibility. So to prep the vehicle, take all the reflective tape off of it and repaint it and stuff and redo the chevrons on the back of the truck is $12,000. This truck is scheduled to go to paint next week. That's how far they are on doing the repairs. So instead of, waiting for the next board meeting to get it done, that's why I'm here tonight to ask for the approval to go ahead and proceed to repaint the driver's side of the vehicle.
And I would like to chime in that the truck is on the other side of the state right now.
It's in Grand Rapids.
And it's not the easiest thing to move those guys around. Also, you did work on an appeal with the insurance adjuster, which they already denied.
Yes.
And you have budgeted for this,
Yes, I
and we've got the money to do it.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve that. It is a health and safety issue for our township, and we definitely need fire protection. So I'll move to support that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're gonna move it and then I'll support it.
I'm sorry, I'll move that.
And I'll support it.
Absolutely. I just wanted one clarifying question.
Sure.
So discussion. But so you said it's cost $12,000?
$12,000. Yes, that's the estimate that I got.
Okay, I just see here in the resolution that it's $13,000. That's neither here nor there. I just want to.
The resolution was written in that way because we weren't positive of the final cost and we weren't sure if we were going to win an appeal. So we want to just cover it and say up to 13,000.
Okay,
That was intentional.
Yep, just wanted to clarify. Yep, thank you.
Gotta keep those trucks on the road.
Especially as cold as it is.
Yes.
It's tough keeping them going.
Right, shall we
Ready for
call the
roll
vote?
call? Dabbs Jackhi.
Yes.
Devereaux,
Yes.
Green,
Aye.
Lewis,
Yes.
McKinney,
Yes.
Robinson, yes.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Okay, moving to ordinance number 11G, thank you. Amending Danbury Park Manor tax exemption, the first reading.
So move.
Yeah, and so I'd like to, you guys support it? Oh, Second. Thank you. I'd like to discuss this, something that I have been working very diligently on with a variety of our partners, including HUD, MISTA, the Sheriff's Office, and now a variety of nonprofits and legal service groups, is understanding how we can impact the quality of life for those that are living at the complexes on MacArthur Boulevard. And in addition to that, I'm especially keen on holding the ownership accountable, where they have been, much less than that. We've got a variety of issues, but similar to sidewalks, but this to me is very intense and very top of mind. And I appreciate the support of all the groups that have come together to, work with us, including the treasurer as well. This ordinance that Mr. Lucas and I thought through and worked to develop involves more measures that we may take in order to theoretically put a lien on a property that is not paying their bills. And this is an issue that we are seeing with both of our complexes, and we're seeing a really severe lack of responsibility and lack of ownership. And with that, would you like to briefly go over what this amendment involves?
Well, really what it is it mostly deals with enforcement procedures.
Mm-hmm.
You look at the crux of it, what we're doing is we're beefing up our existing Danbury ordinance.
Mm-hmm.
We add additional enforcement procedures that are available to the township Because one of the problems we've had with both Danbury and Sycamore is obviously their lack of diligence with respect to maintaining the properties and doing things that we need.
Owners.
It's not up for today, but I did provide Supervisor Yakin with a copy of an ordinance that I've also drafted relative to inspections, inspections of these properties
Mm-hmm.
that I would have the board take up at a later time to look at giving us some more authority to go in and inspect these properties and find if they are not being kept up to the standards where they're supposed to be. Based upon the Michigan Housing, there's a Michigan Housing Act, Improvement Act that I based that on, and it authorizes the township to adopt that standard for its facilities and allows inspections of these facilities. But that'll be something for another time. What this is really for is just to deal with, as you all know, Danbury is what is known as a pilot program.
Mm-hmm.
How
Right.
many of you familiar with what a pilot program
Yeah,
is?
they've been a pilot for years.
Yeah, they are a pilot program. One of the questions that we've had is whether or not there is a similar pilot ordinance relative to Sycamore. We've not been able to
No.
find one.
Sycamore does not
Does not
have a
have-
pilot. No.
So consequently, in order for us to provide greater enforcement capabilities, after discussing this with the supervisor, I drafted some amendments to the Danbury ordinance, which would give us additional enforcement authority.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Any questions? I'll be glad to
Yeah,
answer.
I do, Fred.
I'm not going to answer yours.
Danbury, have they changed ownerships or do they still have the owners?
I'm not familiar with whether they have. I think Lisa could probably answer that.
Probably changed ownership in the last year and a half, probably 3 times, and I think.
Oh, really?
For property management too. Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, I know management, but I mean ownership.
Well, at least 2 times. One, we're not clear on, and it might just be the same owner, just under a different name, but it's unclear.
Okay, because that's the problem. We've
The-
always had tracking down the owners.
So I've been working with HUD and Mishta on this, and some folks at HUD and some friends of HUD helped me to discover and confirm the Green National is who we thought was the owner of Danbury, and it is in fact that's the group. And then for Sycamore, the ownership is a family group, and the last name is Purettes, and I'd love to talk with you in more
Are they out
detail
of
about
New
that.
York? Is that?
They're out of New Jersey,
Oh, New
and some
Jersey.
of them are out of prison right now.
Oh, that's great.
Okay.
Make them easier to contact.
Right. Well, that's good. I'm glad to see
Yeah.
that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. That was always a headache, keeping up with the ownership. Mhm.
Ready for roll call?
Yes. Shall we call the vote?
Dabish Akine,
Aye.
Devereaux,
Yes.
Green,
Aye.
Lewis,
Yes.
McKinney,
Yes.
Robinson, yes.
All right.
Thank you so much, Emily, for looking into that and trying to get things changed over there.
That's what I'm here for.
Thanks.
Okay. Moving to bills for payments and record of disbursements. Okay. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Is there any discussion? Okay. You okay?
Hmm.
Are you good?
Mhm.
Okay. All right, so please and petitions, shall we take a roll call?
Dabish
I'm
Akine.
sorry, for bills for payment. Yeah.
For bills, for-
Yes.
Dabish Akine,
Yes.
Devereaux,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
McKinney,
Yes.
Robinson, yes.
Okay, moving on to pleas and petitions. And this can be anything on or off the agenda in 3 minutes, please.
Good evening again. My name is TC Collins. I live in Ipsy Township. One thing I do love is Superior Township, born and raised off of Harvest Lane. When I left my parents, I ended up living in Sycamore Meadows. I love living in Sycamore Meadows, even though it's low-income housing or affordable housing. The one thing that I did love is that I started gardening and farming outside of my parents' house in Sycamore Meadows. It ended up being 18 units, and one of the requirements was that I put it back the way I found it. And that's what I did. But Unfortunately, I had to move out of Sycamore Meadows because I was $1 over budget. I was on Section 8, so I had to leave my community and forced to live in Ann Arbor. Ann Arbor has its ups and downs, but it doesn't have the sound, it doesn't have the people, it doesn't have the air, and it doesn't have the spirit of Superior Township. Even though I'm in Ypsi Township, all I ask that if you look at Danbury Green and you look at Sycamore Meadows, it is a loving community. It does lift people up, but it doesn't put people down. A lot of times we do hear heartaches about crime, about drugs. That doesn't change the way I love my community. All I ask is that if anybody or any entity that does take over or manage Danbury Green, Sycamore Meadows, it's the management is the problem that always mess up housing for people that's trying to live and live like everyone else. No matter if it's Washington Square, if it's Oak Brook, it's still Superior Township. So I ask that look at management, look at the owners. If they can't do a good job, it trickles down to the residents. It's not all residents that are bad, but it kind of makes it a lackadaisical environment. If the management don't do a good job and respond to residents' needs, it kind of is a revolving door. They're in it for the money. They're not in it for quality. They're not in it for life. And that's what hurts me. I spent most of my life coming back to Superior Township, Ypsi Township, and the city of Ypsi. I chose those three communities. No matter where I live at, I'm trying to build up our community and have it a hand up and not a hand down. So I ask everyone, please give the residents the time to rebuild or build their lives. Even though it is affordable housing or low income housing, we are all under the eyes of God. So I ask you, give us a chance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, board. I'm not going to finish what I was going to talk about earlier, because you do have it in writing. One of the things I heard today, and it came from you, Miss Brenda, you mentioned not having the Board of Review represent all of the township. And I am really glad you said it, because one of the things that I said in my interview is that is something that I'm concerned about, because when we're representing as residents in this township, it should include everyone and it should be representative of the entire township. One of the things I do want to say is that several years ago, before I got appointed, I came before the board, and it was about communication, transparency, and the process, because I saw the agenda where you were going to appoint a Board of Review member, and I didn't know anything about it. And that's why I had put some suggestions in there about the Board of Review. One of the things I want everybody to know, and I want to say this publicly, I've been a resident for over 30 years. While I was working at UAW Chrysler National Training Center, I became a realtor. I've been involved in real estate for over 20 years. I am now the owner, the broker, and also a realtor for Golden Real Estate. I have been a certified trainer for the Washington Housing Education Program, certified trainer for the Huron Valley Habitat for Humanity. I work hard in my community. I have proven that I care for my community. I believe then, and I believe now, that I am an asset to this community. And as a matter of fact, of all the people on the board, and I've only been on the board for 3 years, there's a recommendation to replace me, and I've been on the board for 3 years. Yet the other two people, and I love them, John and Jim, they've been on there 10 and 20 years. And I read a remark today. It was I have to say this, it was a very good post today from you, Emily, to the community. But when you were talking about the boards and commission, you mentioned this practice has been implemented as a first of many measures to eliminate favoritism and the notion that appointments are indefinite. I've been on the board for 3 years. That is not indefinite. I do want to stay on the Board of Review because I think I'm an asset. And finally, the last thing I want to say, and it doesn't matter what happens. One of the things that I had decided to do in November, December, I also did it in 2023, was to hold a forum for the residents to inform about the tax assessment statement, to also inform them about the role of the Board of Review, and also what uncapping is and what it means. I am going to do that despite of whatever vote happens, because I am qualified, I have the credentials, I care, and if anybody knows me well, they know that I believe in providing information to our community.
Thank
So I just
you.
want to say that, and I really appreciate all of you.
Thank you.
Brenda Baker, Ashton Court. I have two, please. The first one is pretty straightforward, and that is a request to post the draft minutes of the board meetings ahead of time on the website, if possible. When I have my meetings for the Committee to Promote Superior Township, the committee says, well, what happened at the board meeting? And some of them have the they would be inclined to look on the website and see the minutes instead of me trying to recoup the whole meeting to them. And that's a useful reference for others as well. And I'm saying draft minutes, so I would appreciate that if that's feasible. My second plea is, this is the first time that I have ever seen in all the years I've been attending board meetings, when citizen participation, unless it's on the agenda, you had to wait until the very end. With the business we have before you tonight and the particular people we have, really not a big issue. But I have seen people show up at board meetings who have never been to a board meeting before. Something happened in their life. They have some kind of a gripe that they want to bring to the board's attention, and they're maybe very nervous. They don't know the procedure. And once they say their piece, they may go home. But if such a person comes in and they have to wait until the very end, it tends to tamp down that kind of often first-time participation. So I would encourage you to reconsider that very strict thing that is new to me, at least tonight. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bernice Linkey, Alan Mark. I just want to respond to you creating processes and what you said, that over the last many years we haven't. The last board, a few people kept complaining that we didn't have processes, and we knew that there were policies and procedures that needed to be done. The board doesn't make processes or the policies and procedures. It's really, when you consider the team, it would be the supervisor, the clerk, and the treasurer, and your department heads. And you really need to get things in writing to prevent a lot of what we've seen tonight. So I commend you on doing that. That was something that was desperately needed. So thank you. I think there's got to be a process for financial reporting. When you said that the board knew about things, we didn't. We were told by Keith's supervisor that the township was in good hands. We had a AA bond rating. We were good. People were not, people don't understand, you know, when Brenda and, or I'm sorry, Trustee McKinney and Trustee Devereaux and Trustee Green, you're new, and everybody on the board, you're not going to have that deep understanding of financials. You need to have your controller helping you, and he should be here, or she should be here. So I'm glad I'm seeing that things are moving along, that we're going to get processes. That's really a good sign. I'm glad you're asking those questions. And I'm glad you're concerned that the public knows. So what David, or the past clerk, Mr. Phillips, said in his letter, thank goodness, let's get answers and just move on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mrs. Mohammed, resident of Superior Township. This was a teachable moment meeting for me, because what happened with Resolution 2024-76, where you took a break and came back and pulled back your vote on the resolution, I learned something, and I'm wondering, Can you do that with the resolution that amended your salaries, that gave raises to the supervisor, the treasurer, and the clerk, since we are facing a deficit, which the clerk voted no on? I want to make sure that I state that. I'd like for you to consider doing that. Since we're talking about a deficit, since we're talking about a hiring freeze, I think that would speak volumes to the community that you were willing to give back your 2% raise. Thank you.
Thank you.
Zoom.
All right, any more comments?
Ricky's coming and then we got Zoom.
I think we've got another comment.
Coming to you as a resident.
Okay.
I only have a few questions, and this regarding the hiring process. I would like to know if, you have a deputy supervisor, was there a resolution for that? Being submitted to the clerk?
I can.
And I would also like to know
discuss this.
Pardon me?
Sure, rather than have a conversation back and forth, I'm happy to discuss the policies with you.
Yeah, I just thought it was done across the board, so I'd just like to know if there was a resolution submitted by the supervisor for the deputy supervisor. And also, was it voted on? And also, I noticed where there was in the budget where the deputy supervisor was a part-time position at $34-some thousand. Then it ended up being like a 91.3% increase, which added another 33,000 or something to that brought it up to like $70,000.
Sure, I'll answer that. The reason why there was such a significant percent increase is because during the 6 months prior that the controller was calculating, the previous deputy supervisor was not in the position for a significant amount of the time. So that's why it looks like such a tall increase. And I ask the same question. And to your point about hiring deputies, those are like the one suite of positions that the clerk, the treasurer, and the supervisor have the authority to hire without coming before the board, and that's state law.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the salary increase is something that, I know you was talking about the deficit. So I'm like, if there was such a deficit, why was it increased?
The salary was not increased. Now that we're having conversation, that it was commensurate with all of the other raises and the same as before. The increase that you're seeing is because there were so few hours for the position prior to me coming into my term. So that's why it's at like 90-some percent. Otherwise, it would have doubled from part-time to full-time rather than that 90 that you're seeing.
Interesting.
But they all make the same.
Yeah, and they all make the same. All the deputies make the same.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, any comments online? All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
Actually, I know I want to get out of here too.
Dana?
I do. So I just wanted to, as far as the completed petition is concerned, I actually did want to commend Clerk Robinson regarding raises that we all agreed, that the majority of the board agreed to last month. For me, it was a learning experience. So during that vote, I was under the impression that I had to agree to salaries for the appointees. It was only thereafter and during the recess that I had learned that it was actually that I only couldn't decrease the appointments or the raises. Sorry, the salary of the officials. So that was a learning experience for me. As I advocated for during the meeting, I wanted us to do a comprehensive review of the budget prior to engaging in a hiring freeze, and so that we could understand, if we were asking our employees to take to not be given the previous 4% raise that they were promised under the previous board, that at least we had a very clear understanding of that. And so to directly respond to Mrs. Muhammad's point about recalling the vote as it pertains to official salaries, that is an option. However, according to Michigan law, each official would have to sign a statement, I believe, agreeing to have their salaries reduced. So it wouldn't matter if we recorded and re-voted on it because we already approved it, that each individual official would have to agree to have their salary reduced back to from the 2.5%. So I just wanted to clarify that, and I'll give the time back.
Okay.
You learned
A motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All right, thank you.
I know where you got that from. Did you hear me? David?
Yeah, I heard.
You know what, David?